We're now going to move on to Daniel Bustamante. Daniel, if you're there, we cannot hear you.
Hi.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Forgot turn on video, forgot to unmute.
You're good.
So, anyways, hi everyone. So my topic today is going to be on math and like why I think that the way it's being taught right now in like school isn't like really helpful to what a person like studying math will actually do. So a little background is that I'm a math major and I really enjoy it and I want other people to like see what I see in it. So I think that there really isn't like a math person per se, because most people think that a math person is just a person that's like can do these calculations really, really fast, like they finish the test first and everyone else is like halfway through. Like, what happened there? That's not really what happens, right? And that's not a math person. That's just a person that could follow step by step processes really fast. So I want to go through my experience like from elementary to high school. So like starting off in second grade, we had like 5-minute quizzes on like little problem sets that if we got them all right, we would move on. It was like a progression thing, right? So I first started off with like adding small numbers, adding big numbers. Then it was like a full like double the amount of questions, and then subtraction, multiplication, division. Like I finished all of that before people even got halfway through. Like everyone else just started looking at me like, wow, this person is just a math person, right? And that boosted my confidence. I'm not gonna lie, it really did. But then I started realizing that like other people were kind of getting discouraged from math, right? Because they were like, oh, I can't do it as fast as this person. Like, why am I just bad at it or stuff like that? I'm like, no, in my mind, just looking back now, it's just that they think that being a math person was just like being able to do these calculations really fast, just memorize stuff like that. And then I think that carried on to like when I looked at people studying algebra, it's very formulaic, step by step process. It's like subtract 5 on both sides, divide by 2, x equals 3. It's like, okay, anyone can do that. Just little memorization, just remember the steps, but like anyone can do that. So now it's just a test of how fast are you at it, right? That doesn't really help you. That's not math. Like going on to my 10th grade year and sophomore year, pre-calc honors, like it was a notoriously hard class for people, right? I aced the first test, 96. Class average was below a B. Next test, I bombed it. I got a 76, which isn't really bombing, but that was my first C ever in all my years of high school, like taking math tests. And like people are just like, wow, like, was it really that hard? I'm like, it wasn't hard. It just tested you on what math should be because it was all word problems. It was all read a problem and then try to solve it yourself. It was, you need to make the connections of like, oh yeah, these two things are related. Okay, so you use this equation and that equation, and then you do the solving the step parts. Like, I just couldn't do that. It was really hard for me. And then that carried on into my last 2 years of high school, where it's just like, these math classes were like extremely hard, but the topics were kind of easy. The main part was just like getting it done. Like we had so much trouble just finding out the first step, right? And then like that like really goes into my last year where I was in a period. It was my class period was split into 2 different classes just because there wasn't enough people in each section to make a full class. And like my teacher, bless her heart, actually managed to do it for us. And what ended up happening for us is that we were separated and looked at less often than the other side because our teacher had faith in us. Like she believed that we could actually get through this stuff. And what we ended up doing was that we just talked amongst each other. And it's just like, that's what math is, right? Talking around with each other, looking at different ideas and seeing what's happening. Because what we ended up doing is that we had a lot of trouble with different like materials, but we just talked. Someone said, oh yeah, I remember this part from like over last year. I remember this other thing, right? We just piece it all together and now we have an answer, right? That's how most of the days went, just because our time was split between the 2 classes. But that made me like fall in love with math even more, just because that's like what I think it really is. Because people are saying that like math is like, oh, they're just critical thinkers, like it's meant to make you critical thinker, make you good at logic and stuff like that. But that's not really what it's doing. It's making you good at following a process, right? Math should be talking with each other, figuring out stuff, build upon what you already know, communicate, get new information, right? So like I want to leave you with this great analogy I thought of like the other day, is that let's say you walk into a store, right, looking for like let's say tomato sauce, and only the aisles are numbered. It doesn't tell you any description, right? You walk in, it's a brand new store. Like the way math taught is right now, it's like you'd go there, you'd be like, okay, so if I just keep going down each aisle, I'll eventually find it. And like, yeah, that's a solution. That's just the process. Like anyone can do that, right? But like a real like critical thinker or like a communicator, like a math person would just be like, oh yeah, let's just go to this employee. They can be like, oh yeah, it's in aisle 5, 2/3 down to your left, you know, it's not really that bad. I think that's what we actually should do, because the school system right now is just tending more towards let's just do process by process by process instead of critical thinking, communication skills, and everything that it really should be. And that's all.
Thank you, Daniel.